Hello and welcome back to my channel. Maureen here. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe down below and let's get to it, shall we? Today I want to talk about parent wounds. And what are parent wounds? Parent wounds are wounds that have been inflicted on children or on us, you and me, by something our parents did or our parents did not do, they were supposed to do, or something they said or did not say they were supposed to say. For example, you can have parent wound, primarily from being abused physically, emotionally, sexually, in any kind of way. You can have a parent wound from a parent who did not affirm you, more like they did more like criticize you. And so you get wounds from something your parent did or did not do, or something your parent said or did not say. Then the thing about parent wounds is, of course, that they're divided into father wounds and mother wounds. Father wound, of course, is a wound that is inflicted upon a person by their father, and their mother wound by their mom. I have had a number of people tell me how mother wounds are affecting them, father wounds are affecting them, and I am here just to address that and to see if we can find 5 tips that we can manage the wounds that were inflicted on us. The thing with parent wounds, a father wound or a mother wound, is that it can affect how you relate with yourself, how you view yourself, and how you view and relate with others. Mother wounds, for example, let me take an example of a critical parent or critical lips in your life. The thing about that is that you learn how to be critical with yourself and with others. So even when you've done a really good job, you'd still be beating yourself for something you did not do that was small, or that was part of the grand scheme that was like 10%. If you encounter people, you learn how to be critical of them. You don't know how to take a compliment because you did not learn how to affirm or how to take a compliment on yourself, or they did not tell you how good you are, and so you learn how to be critical of others, how to be critical of yourself. These kinds of wounds can affect how our personality is, how we present ourselves to the world. It can affect our actions and our reactions in a relationship. Especially, these parent wounds come out so clearly because when you have a wound that is feature, and then this person you're relating with does something that touches that spot, you flare up, you react exactly how you would react if that something happened. And so these wounds affect a lot about us, a lot about our relationships with others, and even more importantly about our relationship with God. Before I share the 5 tips I want you to learn how to manage parent wounds, I want to share with you my story. Many of my friends know this story. My dad and I didn't have a very good relationship since I was a teenager. I don't know if I did something or he did something, or just we didn't have a good relationship. And for the longest time, even without realizing it, I had trouble connecting with God as a father. And I would call, or I would relate with God in many ways, in Savior, Master, Deliverer, all the good names of God. But I'd have real trouble calling him Father, or depending on him as my father. And one day, God, knowing this, he brought it to my attention, and I remember really crying in fellowship and wondering how did this even happen. And God walked me through it and helped me to realize what was the problem, how I was dealing with the problem. And one example that I can give you is that my dad, whenever we'd ask for permission to do anything, he'd say no, as in it was just a given no. And so I learned that when you ask your father something, he'd say no. But then I came, and so even when I'd pray, I'd have that tiny doubt that maybe God is gonna say no, because that's what I learned and that's what I knew. Then I came to realize that God is not like that. God is nothing like that. And I had a moment of just dealing with that father wound and realizing that my earthly father is not perfect and will not be perfect because we're all human, but that I can forgive him and that I can move on and I can have a perfect relationship with the perfect Father. And it was hard at first because I couldn't bring myself to say Father God or to relate to God as my Father. I would be afraid of asking for stuff, and yet God says ask. It can't be that you who give good gifts to your children, can it be that God wouldn't give good gifts to you? But over and over, he continued to affirm me and to remind me that he's a good Father and he's the perfect Father and that I can depend on him. And so something like that may seem small and trivial and like you've put it at the back of your mind, but it could be affecting your current life, your relationship with God, your relationship with others. And that is an important place to deal with. So now to the tips. Yes. Tip number one, as you have had in that story that I've just told you, realize that people are not perfect, your parents included, my parents, your parents. People are not perfect, and therefore even as parents we are coming from a difficult place when we're parenting our children. Your parents may have been coming from a difficult place. They may have been dealing with a lot of things by the time they were parenting you. They may have learned that behavior from their parents, so they are passing it on, even whether knowing or unknowing. And so because people are not perfect, we realize that even if just because someone has done something to wound you, to hurt you, maybe they did it intentionally, still they are not perfect. But even then, you can, tip number 2, forgive them, because forgiving them releases you from that place of being held by what they did or what they did not do, or what they said or what they did not say. It releases you from that place and sets you free, and to be able to now form better relationships, be aware of what is happening, and be able to heal from that place. And because people are not perfect, we forgive them. I had to forgive my dad and to understand that he's not perfect. I expected him to be perfect. I expected a certain standard, but he did not meet it, and therefore I cannot continue to hold on to the fact that he did not meet it. I forgive and I let go. And when I did that, I was able to have some semblance of a good relationship with my dad. Now things are a bit better, which leads us to tip number 3. Tip number 3, take it to God in prayer. I mean, if you are aware of that mother wound, God has brought it to your attention for a reason. And so go lay your heart bare before God and say, this is the wound I'm dealing with. It is a critical spirit, or it is something that someone said, or it is something my mom keeps saying, or my parent keeps saying about me, or that. Lay it bare before God and say, Lord, I need your help. I can't do this on my own. And the wonderful thing with God is that he's an ever-present help in times of need. He's helpful, he's amazing, he's a father. And like I just told you, when he brought it to my attention that I was dealing with a father wound, and he also helped me come out of it, and he helped me to deal with it, and he affirmed me lovingly and reminded me that he's a good father. And God is like that. He wants us to be free from the bondages that have held us bound, to have a wonderful relationship with ourselves, with others, and with him, that will be flourished. Which brings me to tip number 4, go seek help. And I know that in the African context, seeing a counselor or seeing a therapist is frowned upon. Imagine seeing a counselor, seeing a therapist is for your own good. This person helps you to see your blind spots. This person helps you to put apart the things that you were thinking that imagine your thoughts about the matter being like a ball of yarn that is ikona knots, and the therapist helps you put apart and see where is the beginning, where is the end, what can I do, how can I go about it, and they provide a listening ear. And how we say that just because you pray for healing doesn't mean that you don't go to Hosi. It's the same thing. Even when you've laid it bare before God and asked for healing, go see a therapist, go see a counselor. This person will help you walk through it. And tip number 5, take actual actions, like conscious actions, to make sure that you're dealing with this thing. For example, in my relationship, I had to actively now look for my dad and initiate a relationship, say hello once in a while, find out how he's doing, etc. Like now you have to take conscious steps. For example, if you're afraid of someone, or you're afraid of a parent, you're afraid of interacting with people because you were told you are not good enough, when you're in a situation when you'd rather keep to yourself, interact with people. Go talk to one person who seems like the the less threatening one. Start small conscious efforts of dealing with that thing, because the small efforts that you take excuse me, the small efforts that you take leads to another small effort. It leads to another small effort. That those small conscious steps lead you to the healing that you're looking for. And even as all those things are happening, to remind yourself that just because you were wounded doesn't mean you're broken. Just because you're wounded doesn't mean you're broken. You can heal from your wound. It might leave a scar. It will remind you of the things that you've been through, but you are strong enough to go through it, and you're strong enough to get through it, to get past it, and you will heal. So do these 5 tips, and I am sure even as you take conscious steps, small steps towards making it better, you will heal. You better start now. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an awesome pleasure talking about this. And if you have any wounds that you'd like to meet a counselor about, let me know in the comment section below. I am a counselor. I know counselors that I can recommend you to get healing today. It is for your own good. Na kama huja subscribe. Kama huja like, you guys, just like and share this video with people you might know who may be going through these wounds. There is help. There is help. There is help out there, and you can heal. So until next time, neema ikutoshama.